By looking at the slide, you must have known up till now that today the topic which we are going to discuss is concerned with the subject biochemistry. This is how the most of the students uh, appear when they heard the word biochemistry. So the topic of today's discussion would be the introduction to biochemistry. My name is Dr. Zahra Naz, and I'm going to cursorily touch or going to introduce you to the subject biochemistry. Okay, whenever you start a topic, you go through their allos, that's the learning objectives, and in this lecture, you're going to see that what is basically biochemistry and why we need to study it. Most of the people think that it's an irrelevant subject, no need of studying it. And why does it have any importance, or what will happen if we are not going to learn it? And the last and the most important is how can we study biochemistry? Okay, so you must have heard the saying that you are what you eat. And exactly, this is how it happens in life. If you eat healthy foods, as you can see in this picture, then you become a healthy person. And if you keep on eating the junk food, which is now the normal trend of our life, of our youngsters, so it's going to ultimately lead to this stage, that's the obese stage. And so what does it have to do with the biochemistry? This is basically concerned with the biochemistry. And whatever you take in your body is basically constitute of different components. And this is basically the food plate, which is going to indicate that how much portion you should take of everything that is called as a healthy normal diet. And in it you can see this plate has been distributed into several things: the fruit portion, as you can see over here, the grain portion, the dairy product and the protein portion, and the sweet and the carbohydrate and the fatty section, sorry, and this is the protein portion. So what happens, all these constituents, they are going to should be the part of your daily diet. And once they are inside the body, or to take them inside the body, they cannot be taken as it is, okay? Or the body cannot utilize them as it is. For the purpose of utilization by the body, they need to be broken down into their components. And there starts the role of the subject biochemistry. And cursorily, I'm going to touch all these different 5 food groups. First of all, the carbohydrates. And basically the carbohydrates is nothing, as you all call them in journal, as sugars or saccharide components. And they are basically the one which you take in the diet. They are basically like this. You have already seen the structure of cell in your previous classes. So these molecules are basically composed of many molecules, or you can say that they are the different polymers make different components. Like different amino acids form proteins, your saccharides form carbohydrates, your fatty acids, glycerols, they are going to form the lipid molecules, and ultimately the large complex structures are going to be formed. You just ingest the large complex structures, and ultimately these huge large or the polymers of different components, they are going to be broken down into their simpler structures, as you can see over here, the single unit structure. So these multiple units are going to be broken down ultimately into 2 sugar unit containing, and then simply into single, so that they can be easily taken up by the cells. And as you all know, whenever you talk about all these components, they have got the specific functions of theirs, okay? They're going to be taken separately in their concerned chapters. The next component is the protein, which is the one that is going to provide the muscle mass. The function of the proteins is to provide the muscle mass to our body. And again, it's a polymer of amino acids. And you can see in this picture the structure of the amino acid, as the name indicates, is composed of the amino group and the acidic group in its form. And ultimately, a large molecule is going to be formed, as you can see in the picture, and you can see it over here. We have got the huge form or huge chain in it over here, and ultimately it's going to result in the formation of a large molecule of protein. And uh, again, what happens? We are not taking only one form of protein, you are taking multiple components of diet. So multiple or the wide variety of proteins are there in the diet which you can take in. And nextly, what happens? Again, they are meant to perform certain functions. As you can see, the major role is in the muscle mass, the transportations, and the genetic or the hereditary functions, or you can say in the immunity or in the transportation of the oxygen and other multiple functions. Then what we have got, the a group that should be less and which taken nowadays in major amount by a younger population is the group of lipids. And all these fats, triglycerides, steroids, and phospholipids, they are all going to come under the heading of lipids. And triglycerides, you must have heard their name in your previous classes, and also called as triacylglycerols or tags. They are going to be fat, are basically going to be, your lipids are going to be stored in the form of this inside the body tissue. And again, what happens, this are taken inside the diet and they're going to perform the multiple functions, and mainly the major chunk is going to help in the formation of different lipid type of hormones, and it's going to help in the digestion, it's going to provide energy, and it's going to provide insulation, and it's going to act as a metabolic fuel. And then we have got multiple vitamins with us, and they are the ones that you're going to get from different types of fruits. And you must have heard about them in your previous classes about the lipid and the fat soluble vitamin. And A, C, D, E, K, and B are the water soluble ones. Fat soluble ones, and the rest of them, the B complex is the water soluble one. Again, they are going to perform multiple functions. And what happens then, last but not least group, is of the minerals. Again, minerals is going to include your calcium, phosphorus, and other components. And again, they are going to do what? They are basically going to help out in the performance of your muscles and the nerve conduction and the nerve transmission and the impulse transmission and the activity or the performance of your impulses, and you can say contractions, and as well as in the maintenance of the electrolyte balance inside the body. That is why your biochemistry is very important to your body, because if you are not going to read it or you're not going to go through it, you won't be able to understand the abnormal functions, or abnormal things that are going on inside the body. So that's the reason every student has to go through this subject. And last but not the least is the major question, that how we're going to study the biochemistry. The thing is that, as you have seen in the first picture which I have shown you earlier, in it, you have seen two books on the major slide. That was the slide